Good evening, everyone. Peace be with you. As we get older, there are things that we say over and over again. And one of the things that I keep saying is that one of the problems of our new South Africa is that our generation did not hand over the baton to the young ones on whose shoulders rests the onerous responsibility of the growth and development of our constitutional democracy. We felt that we did not want to burden them with our experiences, and we wanted them to proceed with their lives in a normal manner. We had underestimated the depth of the damage that the violent system of apartheid had inflicted on the hearts and minds of our people. And sometimes when I listen to what our amazing young people who have had the advantages of freedom are saying, I realize that there is a lack of understanding of what happened before. So this evening, I shall share some of my experiences and insights with you, and will try to hand over the baton in 20 minutes. Time is of the essence. On reflecting on the past, I do so with the understanding that my interpretations of what happened are influenced by my experience over the years, and I often think back, laughing at myself and the situations that I had found myself in, even though they involve serious matters. For the purpose of my talk, I shall use the terms white, brown, and black to describe the apartheid categories because, let's be clear, these are social constructs which have no biological basis. I think that I was 7 when my father told me that if I was asked the question, "What are you?" I must reply, "I am a human being." And so I have been negotiating my path with the understanding that we are all human beings and that it was totally unacceptable to be treated differently because of the color of our skins, the texture of our hair, the shapes of our noses. I was 9 when South Africa became a republic, and my memory of the time was that the schools were supposed to fly the new flag in celebration of the republic. Some principals refused, but our principal conformed. He was weak. I have a memory of a march led by Philip Khosana from Langa to Cape Town with all its turmoil, violence and arrests, because my brother Yusuf, who was caught in the chaos on his way back from Harold Cressy High School in Cape Town, came home to tell us of his experiences. In 1961, my father had taken his mother to Makkah, and on his return, sadly without his mother, as she had passed away in Aden on the way back from Hajj, he told us many stories, one of which was how the Egyptians had chided the South Africans. "What is wrong with you guys?" they said. "Why do you not just drive them into the sea? There are so many of you and so few of them." Those are my childhood memories, and I always had a sense of the injustice of it all and the need to challenge this iniquitous system through boycotts and protests. In high school, I was further influenced by the teachers who belonged to the Teachers League of South Africa and the Unity Movement, and the ideas of our common humanity and non-racialism became firmly entrenched. In Standard 7, a classmate and I refused to write the IQ tests arranged by the CAD, the Colored Affairs Department, as we did not want to assist them with proving our inferiority. We suffered the consequences. When we were in Standard 9, we had our first stay away in support of the students at Arcadia High School in Bonteheuwel. It was suspected that I had organized the stay away, even though I had not. And one of the reactionary teachers warned that I would not be allowed to attend university if I continued with my nefarious activities. We were told by our teachers that we needed to be educated so that we could be prepared to take over the country one day. So off I went to university. That year, 4 of us from South Peninsula High School went to UCT to study medicine. The school was very proud of the achievement. We were part of 20 brown students in a class of 200. Black students were not allowed at UCT at the time. We had to have a government permit to study at the white university. It was 1969, and that year, Imam Harun was killed in detention. He was buried on the 29th of September, on my 18th birthday, and that night the earth shook. At UCT, we were treated like second-class citizens. Recently, an angry black young man told me that he and other black students were discriminated against in the faculty, but that he could not put his finger on it. In our day, it was overt, blatant, legal, and cruel. So we could not see white patients by law. What this meant was that we could not go to white wards, study anatomy on white cadavers, attend white autopsies. We also accepted that when a white patient was brought into the lecture room, we knew that we had to leave. Shockingly, we did so voluntarily. The lecturers, on the whole, carried out these regulations for the apartheid state. We, by and large, cooperated, but on occasion, when we protested, when, for example, we could not be present in the room when a white child was brought in, follow the ward round to the white wards, or refuse to sleep in the obstetric wards when our white classmates could sleep in the white doctor's quarters, we were told that the patients would object to our presence. We were reminded that we are there on permit, which could easily be withdrawn, and some failed the obstetric block assessment. During our time at university, there was a very radical senior student called Ben Decker who got involved in student politics. He was in fact a police informant, as we later discovered. Such were the circumstances then. Then came our final year, and we protested by not being part of the class photograph, not attending class dinner, and some not attending graduation. However, the protests were often directed against ourselves. I, however, chose to attend graduation for the sake of my parents, Hassan and Rahma Jaffer. Anyway, then it was internship at Somerset Hospital in 1976. That momentous year when South Africa was set on its path towards change, our 1994 miracle and our constitutional democracy. So I did my internship at Somerset Hospital, which was a hospital for people who were not white. In Cape Town, Somerset Hospital was the only place where brown interns were allowed. We had our usual challenges of internship, sleeplessness, inexperience, bullying by seniors, and in addition, it was 1976, so it could not be business as usual. My colleague, friend, comrade, Sophie Kisting and I discussed what we needed to do in response to the protests that were raging throughout the country. It needs to be understood that at the time we were living in fear. The National Party government was firmly in charge. They had managed to create an atmosphere in which people freely submitted. People were even too afraid to mention the words government or politics. These were whispered. We did not know who to trust. Anyone could be an informer. The threat of Robben Island and 90 days detention loomed large. Involving oneself in political activity could lead to arrests, detention without trial, house arrests, banishment, torture, and indeed death. Also, we did not have computers or cell phones, and telephones could be bugged. So organizing was extremely risky and frighteningly difficult. So, as I said, organizing at Somerset Hospital in 1976 included a lot of whispering, clandestine meetings, finding typewriters that could not be traced back to us, and also typists who could be trusted. Sophie and I organized a march which included Somerset Hospital staff members across the board. We marched from Somerset Hospital to Greenpoint Main Road and back, accompanied by the police, who were obviously out of their depth because they could not resort to their usual tactics. The doctors in white coats, the nurses in uniform, and the march happening in a white area all stopped them from engaging in their usual activities. The march was a success. The Somerset Hospital staff had pledged solidarity with the protesters in the rest of the country. Unfortunately, Dr. Louis van der Poel was arrested the next day as he was considered to be the ringleader. Sophie and I continued with our opstokerij and arranged a meeting and asked, or shall I say demanded, that the heads of medicine, surgery and gynecology attend. They had to come down from the ivory tower to Somerset Hospital to meet the staff. Sophie and I had prepared a statement that we wanted them to support, but they refused. It was too radical. I regret that I did not keep the statement because it was most probably anti-apartheid state or anti-violence, and a demand for health for all. In September 1976, there was a call for a national stay-away as a result of the June the 16th and the aftermath. We were informed by the authorities that if we joined the protests, we may not be working as doctors again. We grappled with the issues around what our response as health professionals, workers, should be to a call for a stay away. Should we stay away or should we go slow? Sophie was under pressure from her political connections to heed the stay away, and I was under pressure from myself. Sophie's brother had also been badly beaten while protesting as a student at UWC, and this influenced her decision. We called a meeting of the interns, and the general view was that it would be better to come to work and continue to be doctors, because that way we would be better able to serve our people. The other very important consideration was that our parents had made tremendous sacrifices for us to become doctors, and that had to be taken into account. So it was democratically decided that we should perhaps go slow but come to work. I still felt I needed to stay away. It was my father's opinion that I would be of better service to the people as a doctor than not, and of course he was correct. That evening, Sophie, her husband Eugene, and another comrade came to see my father to convince him that he should not stop me from staying away. My father held firm and told Nisa to take me to work the next day in case I decided not to go. I was guided by the democratic position and from pressure from those who cared about me. Sophie stayed away, and I covered for her the next day so that she could not be missed. After 1976, the faculty started to change its programs. Brown registrars were allowed to work at Groote Schuur Hospital, even though there were no place for them to sleep and that they could still not see white patients. We have achieved a great deal in this country. The country that we live in now is completely different to that of 1976. Recently, I heard a young Tshwane University of Technology student shouting out at the TV cameras that he was going to stay there until there was free education, or Afrikaans was abolished, or some demand, and that exemplified for me how free we are now. I'm now a full citizen in the land of my birth, and have tasted the fruits of freedom. I'm acutely conscious of the fact that many of my compatriots have not yet had the full advantage of freedom. So let's hand over the baton. Much more needs to be done to realize our goal of a united, democratic, non-racial, non-sexist, prosperous South Africa, and I trust that you young ones will do what needs to be done to take the project forward, so that in 20 years' time, you'll be able to look back and see how much progress has been made. And so I say to you, enjoy what has been given to you, and always remember that it has all been achieved with great sacrifice and that it must not be squandered. Try your best to avoid violence at all costs and take advantage of the democratic space to continue with the work. We cannot afford more violence. We have not healed from our violent past. Use different strategies and tactics that will be effective in this time. All of you have something to contribute. Let us use the model of the UDF that people often speak nostalgically about, even though, I must add, it was far from perfect, to include people from all levels of society to work towards our common goals. Everyone from different backgrounds, educational levels, economic positions, religions, and skin colors have a contribution to make and are needed. We must always remember the needs of those who are less fortunate than ourselves and use our advantages to empower the marginalized. I wish you strength and courage. Thank you.